Hello everyone, I'm Duke James. This is Vietnam, or Dai Viet, or apparently Sai Viet, according to Google Translate, but I'm just going to call it Vietnam or Dai Viet because that's easier to pronounce. So for this episode, I'm going to go over some map modes so we can see what base we're starting from and see if we can improve that, which we should be able to. Got a whole bunch of map modes already pre-built. First one will be the total population. There's hardly a difference between total population, rural population, and urban population, so I think looking at total population is good. Most of our population is in these three provinces right here. Hardly anything in the south, hardly anything to the north of those provinces. We have these three provinces. These provinces are also where all of our industry is, which is not surprising considering that's where all the people are. It's this province, Hatay, which I think this one is Hanoi. Probably, unless my geography is wrong. This province has 520,000 total people, 467,000 peasants, and 40,000 residents. And 500 burghers, 10,000 nobles, 3,000 clergy. Is that the most populous? Okay, it looks like this province, Nam Sash, is actually the most populous with 529,000 peasants, only 16,000 residents, but 11,000 nobles, less than 500 burghers, and 3,000 clergy. And then this one, Tan Long, is the third most populous with 400,000 peasants and 6,000 residents, 8,000 nobles, 100 burghers, and 2,500 clergy living there. And then this province has 264,000 peasants and 6,000 residents. And then these provinces are lower tier, around 200,000 in those provinces. About 100,000 in that province, and I imagine these are sub 50,000. 83,000, 92,000, so the red provinces are all around 100,000. So the bulk of our population is in these three provinces right here. And most of these map modes are just looking at our country, because if I go worldwide, it's going to skew the colors. So it's going to be a lot less worthwhile data if I'm looking at the entire world. So that is population. Next is some of the industry of the country. So the next one is food production, which pretty much follows the population map mode, actually, unless this hasn't changed. Now I'm pretty sure, okay, yeah, because these are orange. There's a whole lot more red in terms of the population, but that makes sense because more people to work in the food production industries. So pretty much, just as we have a lot of people here, we produce a lot of food there. Down south, I know these provinces are actually, which I'll talk about more later, spice producers. So they don't really produce any food at all. The spice industry in this province is 110. There's no food in this province at all, except for fishing, which is not crops. So that is food production. I suppose actually... Okay, so actually thinking about it, this is food production in the world, so maybe this is actually pretty good to look at the worldwide view. So here's food production in the world. We don't... our little heartland is comparable to India's food production, so... Our best food producing provinces are on par with India and some of China's provinces over here and up there. So that's definitely something that I'm going to improve. I'll probably improve everything, but special emphasis on food. So the next one is metal deposits. We have in the south metal in that province, Tai Bin. We have metal in that province. There's metal there and metal here. So we have a little bit of mine production in the country. There's also 2 gold producing provinces. That's a coal producing province. Not that one. Here we go. This is gold. This province is gold and coal. So there's gold and coal there, coal here. And there should be gold. There's gold in this province as well. So we have actually a decent amount. We start with a decent amount of metals and mines. And we can get a couple coal producing provinces as well. So that's a good base right there. And these 2 provinces right here produce tea. Which interestingly did not start with tea. So I had to open up the tea industries in these 2 provinces. So they don't actually have, they're not producing any tea right now. But I think tea should be a good product to grow and sell. And then the slot 5 is precious metal, which I already pretty much, just those 2 provinces that have gold in them. Slot 6 is owned province exotic goods. So this is exotic good production. So all these provinces that are not red produce spices or some kind of exotic good in... yeah, they're not necessarily spices because some of these industries produce exotics as byproducts. Like sericulture produces a tiny little bit of exotic goods. Cottage industry as well. No, they produce luxury. So the orange ones don't have spices. I believe these should have spices. Yeah, so these 2 provinces should have spices up here. And then these 4 provinces have spices as well. Yeah, so this one produces 84 spices and gold. That's a nice province, gold and spices right there. Not much else. Not much else going for it. 91 spices in this province. These 2 are our big spice producers. 110 units, or 110 size. It doesn't produce 110, that's just the size of the industry. But it should produce accordingly in the vein of that. So 139 in this province. In terms of actual production, 3.2 exotic, which sells for 37 ducats, and 2.5 in this one. Less than 1 in this one. Alright, so we do have some spices, which I'll be careful to cultivate those, because they should be pretty good. Should sell for a lot. The thing is, these provinces don't really have that much room to grow. The ones that produce spices are pretty much capped in terms of farmland for the most part. That one's not. These 2 down here are... I think these ones should have some room, actually. That one has a little bit of room. This one can double from 100 to 240. This one really doesn't have much. And this one has a little bit. So those are good candidates to build irrigation in. I'll probably build irrigation everywhere eventually anyway, but those would be good provinces for either higher tier irrigation or quicker building in. Slot 9 is the farmland availability. So if they're green, you can build more farmland in them. You can cultivate more farmland, I suppose. Which the little heartland here is really good for that. So I'll probably build irrigation everywhere. Alright, next map mode should be forestry. Alright, this is forests, so these provinces have no forests because apparently they've all been cleared to do farmland. Everybody else has massive potential for farmland, or forests. Yeah, that one has absolutely no forest at all. So this is good for producing food. This is good for producing forests. Forests which produce raw materials and fuel, and then also game industry, which produces food, a little bit of salt. Actually, let's see. I know I have a game industry somewhere. Check out exactly what that produces, if I can find one. Game industry? I've seen a game industry. There we go. Yeah, game industry, it produces food, a little bit of salt, some fiber, fuel, raw, and exotic. So it's definitely an all-around industry. So in any province with a decent amount of forests, I'll open up game industries. So pretty much all of these will have game industries eventually. So they can produce that good stuff there. That'll definitely help when I want to increase food production. So I'll probably do some game industries to boost food production when I do that plan for food production. Next one is mines. So coal in these two provinces, I think. Yeah. This province should have a lot of coal being produced. That's mines 300. There's nothing in there right now, so it's very green. I don't have any salt, rock salt, so all the salt from my country is on the sea, at least right now. I'm not looking down here. I think I'll do that once I conquer those provinces. And then I'll probably go a little bit more in depth once I do specific plans. This one's about halfway, producing just metal. So we have mines, but not a whole lot of mine size. Potential fishery. Probably not much. That's a decent amount of fishery. 60 is actually not that much. Compared to the world, that's probably very small, so I kind of ignore fisheries anyway, because they just produce a small amount of food. They produce food, salt, and exotic. Which is interesting, because I would think fisheries, along with game industries, would, and I've mentioned this in the past, I would think that those two industries would consume salt instead of produce salt. But I think that's balancing issues. And then owned province noble power. So the nobles actually control a significant part of our country. The nobles have 62% power, so that's why I did the noble map mode and not burghers, clans, or clergy, because those ones are pretty weak. The nobles are pretty powerful. I assume there's a little bit of burgher power in the territories with the residents in them, but nobles, pretty much if it's green, they control 60% or above. Yellows looks like 40%, and red. So these two provinces up here, the nobles barely have a presence, but everywhere else, their presence is felt. So I'm going to have to weaken the nobles, and that'll be a long, arduous process of breaking the back of the nobles. Bureaucrats actually have 39%. This map mode is the bureaucrat power, so I want to weaken the nobles and increase the power of the bureaucrats, so that's why I'm looking at these two map modes. Pretty much every single one of these provinces right here has 40% bureaucrat power, which is in line with their total power in the country, which is 39%. So these two provinces up here are apparently peasant republics. Oh no, they're controlled by the clans. Clans have 80%, so our country is shared between the bureaucrats and the nobles, with the exception of these two provinces, which are controlled by clans. Alright, the last map mode that I at least have a preset for is river sections. Alright, that didn't work apparently. There we go. Okay. So these are worldwide river sections. There's a huge rivers over here, Ganges and all of that stuff. We have this one river here. And there's a little river over here, or I guess that's a major river actually, but we're only going to have these two provinces, so that's not really that much of a concern for us. But we do have this. Fortunately for us, most of our territory borders the oceans, so the only area where it doesn't really do that is up here, so we have this river. The Red River here, and then the Mekong down here. And the Mekong's not going to be that much use to us. I feel like that'd be cool if we were at the origination point of a river that we didn't control. We could get some kind of benefit out of that, like collecting tolls or something, but I see why that wouldn't be implemented. Probably be hard to do that. But the Red River should be of huge importance to us, relatively speaking. We can use that to penetrate up here. It's probably not going to be that huge of a thing, but it's multiple provinces inland, so that's something I can use. Probably throw a high-rank harbor up here in one of these provinces, and take advantage of that. And everywhere else we should... I think everywhere else, it's only 2 provinces to the ocean, so it shouldn't really be that bad in terms of communication efficiency. Let's see, any other map modes? I looked at food worldwide. I think that's it for now. I'll look at more map modes specifically once I do specific plans, and if anybody else wants to see anything, then you can go ahead and shout that out, and then I'll look at that. But that was just a brief look into what we're working with at the start of the campaign. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next episode. Goodbye.